This is fantastic. This is so my kind of car. Remember last time when we did the C63, you said my turn.
Yeah, I did, but you know, I've won a lot of races in this, Stu. I know the car really well.
Oh, let's be fair about it. How about rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, okay.
On three, right? 1, 2.
Come on, go again.
Go again. 1, 2. 1, 2.
Yeah, come on.
1, 2. 1, 2. Shit, you've done this before, haven't you? 1, 2. 1, 2. No!
Come on. Stu.
1, 2. That's it. Alright, stuff it.
Today on inCARnation we have a car that's very close to my heart, the Aston Martin Vantage. I've won a lot of races and 2 championships in the 4.7 version. Today though we have a 6-litre V12 manual. Let's see how it goes on the road.
Now you know, if you're an Aussie bloke and you want a V8 with rear-wheel drive and your manual transmission, there are about 2,000 cars on car sales.
Yep.
250,000 cars for sale in Australia. About 2,000 of them fit the bill for V8 up the front.
What if you want a V12? What happens
Mate, if you want a V12, you're down to 34 cars only. And predictably, you'll have a whole lot of Ferraris from last century, all sorts of 330 and a 456.
550 Maranello?
Exactly. Or you could have a Lambo, and there's a whole bunch of them, you know, from Diablos and Countarchs and all sorts of things. Or you could have a bunch of E-Type Jags, because they're V12 and rear-wheel drive. Or you could have one 1936 Rolls-Royce, but I think that's not going to be very reliable.
No, I don't think
Or
so.
the only other option is Aston Martin. That's got to be a highly collectible combination, don't you think? Because look at Gordon Murray. He's just come out with the latest T50, the replacement for the McLaren F1. V12, rear-wheel drive, only comes in a manual gearbox.
Yeah, right.
And viewers, if you haven't seen the new Gordon Murray T50, have a look on YouTube. Don't look now, you have to watch all of this review first. Aston, of course, is known for its GT cars, the DBS and the DB9s and 11s. So this is a bit of a new foray for them, isn't it? Having a proper short wheelbase sports car.
It was, yeah. So, and the design's been around since 2006 essentially, and they kept it till about 2015, 2016, and it's just not a bad angle on it. It's one of the world's best looking cars, there's no doubt about it.
Yep.
I think in 20 years time they'll be looking at these like we now look at a Aston Martin DB5 or DB6. It'll be a classic car worth a lot of money. A little smaller than your traditional Aston, and lengthwise, size-wise, how's it compared to a 911?
It's actually 4 inches shorter than a 911
Right.
of the 991 variety, but this is wider, a couple of inches. It's also heavier. This car is 200 kilos heavier, but it does have another 110 horsepower.
Yeah, right.
So the power to weight in this car is 15% better than in a 991 911.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
okay.
I'm guessing it's going to go pretty well if you get on the gas.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out.
Hey, can I just say, I don't like the look of that shifter. It's a little bit too macho. They could have done something a bit more elegant.
Yeah. There's so many elegant things on the car, and it's so beautifully designed. The interior is outstanding, in my opinion. But yeah, they kind of didn't get that right.
The ride already, this is a very smooth road, but it feels very firm in the rear, much more so than the V8s.
Yeah.
It's very quiet.
It's very quiet. I'm in 4th gear there doing 50 kilometres an hour.
This car actually sounds like it's rear-engined, because there's no noise at all coming from up there. All the noises are coming from back here. The tacho goes the wrong way.
That's a nice little Aston quirk, isn't it?
That's
I like that.
So that basically your speedo and tacho goes zoom like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mark, tell me about your history with Aston Martin. I know you won the Asia Aston Martin Cup.
I won that in 2008, which was a 1-8 category in Asia for this car, except the 4.7 V8 version of it. For a year, won the Shanghai Grand Prix, Singapore Grand Prix, Malaysian Grand Prix. Went on to do the Asian GT4 Championship after that, and won that championship in 2011 in the Aston again, which were great.
So how do these cars translate to a race car?
Really well, actually. Drivability, and in terms of The way they put the power down is outstanding. Always a little bit under-braked on the racetrack. That was a little bit of an issue, and I've had a couple of big crashes in Aston Martin V8 Vantages, believe it or not, at Sepang and also at
well, thanks for sharing that.
Autopolis in Japan, which ended up in a stay in hospital in Japan for me. But I have to say that the chassis stood up very, very well. There's a very big impact into a wall at the end of the straight there with no brakes.
Okay.
And
why did you have no brakes?
It was a little bit of an issue with those GT4 race cars at that point in time. Steel brakes on the race car.
No such problem today, though.
No, we've got the carbon ceramics here. All the V12s come with a carbon ceramic standard. They're a very good brake.
All right.
That engine just spins up so quickly. Even when you go to shift, I put the clutch in. You've just got to time that correctly.
Otherwise,
a little bit of a free spin when I put the clutch in, so I didn't quite time that perfectly. But
yeah. Hey, no turbos. It's responsive.
I have to say, it's probably one of the most responsive engines I've driven. You know, just 70 k's an hour in third gear, a little bit of throttle, the front lifts up and it just takes off. I think the great thing with Aston, they just stand out. They're a really special car in a crowd of Ferraris and Porsches and Lambos. Sure, in some ways they're not as fast on the racetrack, we know that, but there's something really special about an Aston Martin. This one in particular, a V12 manual, not many of them around.
No.
Only a handful of them in Australia, not many worldwide.
It doesn't have the big torque turbo wallop.
So that's a normal mode, and it does, when you go into sport, it does give you quite a bit more. I mean, if I go back into normal there,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at about 70 k's an hour. If I just go sport, feel it pick up speed, that's just accelerating straight away and I'm on the same throttle. So sport mode opens the exhaust, changes the valve time, it changes the ECU, and it actually makes a big difference. This does that so easily, doesn't it? I have memories of driving the 4.3 V8 manual. I didn't really like it. It was very clunky and the linkages weren't nice, but in the V12, I really like the linkages here. And I was expecting to not like the manual that much, but I really do like the shift. It feels, it's so smooth. You can feel that throttle response there, Stu. As soon as you put your foot on the throttle, the back really grips, the front lifts up a little bit. You really feel the weight transfer in the car. But I really love the way these cars drive from the rear. You can drive them on the throttle through the corner. The one thing with the race cars, we never had a problem with the rear tyres. We'd cook front tyres with all the weight up the front. But the rear, it's actually really hard to lose the back end of one of these cars. You can drive this quite comfortably with the stability control off.
How's the steering feel? Did you feel?
It's got a really nice weight. It's a little on the heavy side, but I actually prefer that. I don't like cars like this to be too light with the steering. It feels, you know, it has a really nice smooth feel to it. I can really feel what the front tyre's doing in this car. Ergonomics are great. The seat itself's great. Seating position's perfect.
This looks like a roll cage in the back.
Bit of roll cage there.
Bracing here.
Yeah, that bracing is, I had the same in the GT4 race car.
Yeah. Here's our corner. Here's Hilux corner. Woo! Oh, we didn't meet the Hilux coming the other way that time. I'd like to compare this with the V8. I think we should get the V8 and just for comparo, maybe an early one, the cheapest Vantage we can find. Let's get one and see what's actually in the affordable range. I use the term loosely. Whoa.
6-litre V12 up the front of this car.
It's a huge motor, isn't it?
It's a massive motor.
And yet, it's only about 80 kilos heavier than the V8.
The feel when you get on the throttle, how the car squats down in the rear and just really drives.
Yep.
So the suspension on the car is really well sorted. You feel that through there. Just superb grip from the back of the car.
A little push at the front then.
It will push a little in the front.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's all in third gear.
Very flat. Mate, third gear is a universal gear in this car, isn't it? It's got plenty of torque.
Absolutely. A really nice ratio on the steering. Doesn't need a lot of lock to get through these tight corners. when you're looking through the corner and fixing your gaze through the apex of the corner to the exit, really unobstructed by the A-pillar. I really like that. The car inspires a lot of confidence. It doesn't feel like it's going to bite you at all, even though it's got a lot of power and it's a very quick car. Very user-friendly.
This car, the equivalent 911 was the 997, which sort of corresponded to it, but performance-wise, this is a 2011 model. That's about when the 991 Porsche started coming out.
Yeah.
And they're very comparable in many ways to this car. Very similar size, similar performance. This car 0 to 100, 4.2 seconds, and similar sort of money second hand.
And these cars just stand out as something different, don't they? Someone who's, for a driver that's looking for something a little different, it's not Porsche, it's not Ferrari, not Maserati.
Yep.
A lot of class about the car. For me, Aston Martin is a really special brand, there's no doubt about it.
The whole ignition key thing's a little bit naff, isn't it? The whole...
the crystal key.
The crystal key.
Cool.
Oh.
Or the...
makes you feel special. Nice easy shift.
Beautiful. The clutch is quite heavy.
Yep.
But it's a nice heavy. Sometimes you get in a car, the clutch is heavy and just horrible and no feel. There's a lot of weight on this clutch, but it really does feel superb. Get in, if you get the line right, get it turned in the right spot, get on the throttle, you can really just commit on the gas.
Mate, do you realise you're in fourth gear up that hill?
Yeah, you know the car's going to do the right thing.
You know how some cars make you feel frantic, like if you're driving a four-cylinder BMW, you just have to flog the thing all the time just to keep up. This thing's the opposite. It just makes you feel relaxed. It goes, you don't need to rev it, just stick it in a higher gear and I'll pull you up the hill, no problem. Righto.
You've got a couple of settings. So I've selected track mode with DSC or stability there now. Just raises the threshold up a little bit, gives you a little bit more to play with if you're on a track. Then you can take it off altogether. Things like our McLarens, the SLS that we've driven recently, that's stuff you really want to be leaving on. But with the Aston, I'm quite comfortable taking the stability control off and just driving the car because it's so responsive. Break into a bit of wheel spin or to get a little sideways, just adjust the throttle, the thing will pop back into line beautifully. If you're looking at doing track days regularly, maybe Aston is not the car, that's Porsche is better. But if you want just a beautiful road car to take away for a weekend, GT touring car, I don't think there is a better car. It's way better suited to that than a Porsche is. You know, Aston Martin get the interiors right. It's a little out of date in some ways. The steering wheel, you know, it's old.
That's the same wheel that was on the original one back in 2004.
It was. It's been around a long time. You know, one of the things that's always interesting with Aston Martin is just the provenance of the brand, the history. Over 100 years old. One of the oldest manufacturers there is. They've been bankrupt 7 times, numerous owners. And now, of course, the brand is a publicly listed company, and the major shareholder is Lawrence Stroll, of course, father of Lance Stroll, owner of the Racing Point Formula One team. Team will actually be branded as the factory Aston Martin team next year, 2021. You know, much higher profile than F1 next year.
Okay.
One of the things that's tricky with this car is the pedals brake and throttle are a little bit too far apart to do a really nice heel and toe downshift. From a driving point of view, that's one thing I don't quite like about the car. These are real Astons. As much as the new cars with the Mercedes engines are faster, they don't have the same sound. They sound like a C63. And I think these will be classic collector's cars. Astons from around 2006 to 2015 will be an appreciating asset.
These, if you can find one. V12, if you like a manual gearbox.
You know, current Porsches, current Ferraris, you want to turn them over, you don't want to keep them too long. This is the sort of car, it's already out of warranty now. They don't cost that much to maintain, but you want to keep it, and it will be an investment car in the future.
Manual gear. G'day. Good, how are you?
Good.
Is it?
A couple of minutes.
Oh,
You can leave the car here if you want.
All right.
Sure, can we take the Camry?
Yeah, mate.
I'll have to take the
People ain't know you can have it.
Oh, nice takeoff.
Bit of rev limiter there. That's a beautiful sound, isn't it?
It is.
The sound of a V12. It's a little subdued. It doesn't kind of scream like a Ferrari V12,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful engine note. And Aston Martin go to a lot of trouble to get that engine note correct.
Just a shade over 500 horsepower. That was snow beside the road
A
there.
little bit of snow still there. That's right.
Our country goes straight from raging bushfires to snow.
Yeah.
Narrow road, twisty, tight. Not, you'd think, the natural habitat for a GT car, but this is as much sports car as GT car. It's old school. There's a pleasant lack of big screens and digital stuff.
That's all right in Teslas or whatever, but when I buy a GT car, I don't want screens, I don't want gadgets. I just want a car that is really built well, that handles well, that has a lot of performance, and this car really fits the bill.
Score. We've had some pretty meaty performance cars lately. We've had some very fast cars.
Yep.
This thing, it's not quite up there with the McLaren and the turbo Porsche stuff, but it's bloody good.
Yeah, it's still very, very good. You'd have to say 4.5.
Cool. Presentation.
It's got to be one of the best looking cars ever made, in my opinion.
It's pleasantly unadorned with bangles and
It
vents
is,
and needless fake bits of stick-on stuff.
That's right.
The vents in the bonnet are necessary to keep it cool.
I'm going to go really high. I think about 4.8.
Okay.
Yeah, really high for me.
Gee, only the Dino has
Yep.
bettered that score.
Yeah.
Personality as well. Has it got some character?
Yeah,
It's Daniel Craig in a Hugo Boss suit.
Yeah.
This one.
definitely. We'll go convenient. 4.7, I think.
Yeah. Practicality.
Yeah, not a lot.
A bit like the Cayman, really. It has got decent luggage space. No back seat.
Yeah.
Practical cabin. Some storage here. Little noisy, but on a good road, it's actually very quiet.
Yeah, on a smooth road, it's great. So,
So you've got to be careful where you park and all that. So 2.5.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And price, it's a V12 manual. Hello, rare as hen's teeth.
You can't go wrong. Investment-wise, 20 years' time, this car's going to be worth way more than what it's worth now. So if you can afford to buy one, buy one.
2.5.
In the middle.
Righto. So that's
Right.
our synopsis of this amazing V12. In fact, you're really excited about today.
Yeah, I was excited about today. Cars out there that are much faster than this, and they do things in many ways better. But I don't think there's a more pleasurable car to drive. And if you just want driving pleasure and you don't intend to track these cars, I don't think you can get a better driving car. You know, this car is owned by two very good friends of mine, Ivan and Robin, and I have to say thank you very much to both of you letting us review your beautiful Aston Martin V12 Vantage today. Really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity and a great privilege for us. So thanks very much, guys, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed driving the car. It's been wonderful, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Today's episode is sponsored by breakdancing baby Jesus here, entertaining the Cardinals. Truly his powers know no limits. Are you a fan of the baby Jesus?
I love baby cheeses. You know the baby cheeses, the ones with the red wax on them.
The little red one. Oh, they're cheeses. Baby cheeses.
Yeah, baby cheeses. That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. Thanks for watching the video. We've got a heap of really interesting cars coming up straight away, so please subscribe to the channel so we can keep producing content. We want to bring videos like this one out every week. See you soon.